All right, so I haven't really done one of these in a while, but I wanted to kind of give an update on some of the stuff that I've been working on. A lot of the stuff in the background that I've been working on has just been kind of cleaning up the code so I can expand things uh, and make them more fun as I move forward. A lot of that is to support the stats that I'm starting to kind of tease my way into things like a stamina system. You can see a little bit of that going down. Some of the stuff like the air recovery from tripping. I don't think I'm going fast enough. There we go. But we can see that I was able to kind of turn that into an air flip. And also just kind of working on things like fall damage, all sorts of other stuff. But what I wanted to kind of show is we've talked about Bew before. Bew is a baby ghost from another world. And he's kind of your special friend, your ET of sorts. There's a lot of, this isn't a nostalgia bait game, but a lot of it is kind of taking the ideas of things that we loved about movies and stories that were kid media that didn't really exist at a time where they were, 3D games are like really cool adaptations. For example, E.T. had like a really crappy Atari game, and I think like a Nintendo DS game. And so the whole idea of latchkey kids playing outside, but kind of giving them things like RPG elements and, kind of gamifying things like yard work. And so Bew, Bew eats yard waste and shits not manure, but magical fertilizer that is supernatural that will allow things to grow out of season in the fall time and eventually later when I start getting into like the cozy game mechanics. This is a game instead of kind of like running a farm, but you're doing yard work and decorating your whole neighborhood and your community. And so Bew is a vehicle for that. But also, I want the kids, there's a little bit of like, I won't call it a roguelike element, but they go to school every single day and they can learn so much. You're not gonna get like super crazy powerful in the way that would kind of like break the core fantasy of being like an awesome kid. They will kind of get new abilities and grow over time. But that's where kind of taking care of Bew comes into it. And so I've kind of shown some of the like shopping cart stuff. We can kind of see when I go downhill a little bit, it'll kind of like roll automatically. I don't necessarily have that when you're going up. I don't think I'm going to. We have things like going up certain hills, not being able to do that, but if you're holding the left trigger, you have a little bit more control, and that's kind of your slow down button. And then we have kind of some boost control. And you have like a base jump. And so, some of the base jump stuff is like great because you just kind of like want to be able to jump over curbs when both characters are eventually riding. But, before I get into having two characters on at once, and this is a co-op game, some of that is like what happens when you're both riding Bew. And I wanted there to be some like fun mechanics and things that you can do that some of it, isn't too difficult, but, things that are designed to be fun, but not necessarily, it's not a skill issue, get goods on kind of game. But we kind of saw here that as I boost, I'm still like hugging the ground, and Bew kind of loosely hugs the ground in the general angle that he's supposed to be moving. And I had that happen so that way when we go down, we can kind of like go off ramps and there's a little bit of like edge detection. But there's also some stuff that I've been trying to like work out, which is kind of the magical friend element of it all. And so one of the things that I built, so say you go off a ledge here, you can hold left trigger and you will kind of like float and manipulate gravity. So you're I really wanted to kind of bring out the element of being, having your own personal UFO made of junk, a little bit of stuff like the Explorers. We can see here now that I can fly. But not really. There's kind of this loose hanging off the edge of things. You know, you can kind of see the way that he like turns through the air. It's like still loosely pulling the information of what's below him. And so what I'm trying to do here is make it so we have some controls that act as a boost and as a jump. And so it started with this moon jump, which is just me pressing jump with the left trigger. And so that's kind of used more for like getting up onto smaller areas. And I want to be able to tune in that, you know, maybe you can't at the beginning use it to like get over a fence, but over time, or if you were to platform jump, then you would be able to use it to get into yards. The other thing about BU is that, much like a Magical Friend story, when adults are around or strangers, you don't have access to these powers. And so the game doesn't have a full day-night cycle, but it kind of goes from afternoon to evening with sunset. And so as things get closer to night, a lot of the times in games, of course, it does make things like more scary. And that is something I've talked about before. But now, if there's less people around or people in their homes, as you upgrade this ability, you'll be able to float and fly around. And so this will come at a sacrifice of some of the other cool abilities that you'll have for BU. And so by feeding him grass, to be able to charge up his powers, or leaves, which you'll also be able to use to get like fertilizer. And you will get full. You won't be able to just eat stuff forever. And you'll have to poop him. That'll all kind of tie into things later. But you'll be able to kind of get these moments of magic that don't just take away and become this like, you know, cheater way to like get into all of the yards and bypass the platforming. But if there was like a collectible that you're having trouble with and the neighbors aren't home, you might be able to use your magic to get in there and do a little bit of cheating, have fun. What's the point of having a magical friend if you have to obey all of the rules of reality? So this is kind of where I'm at. I still need to come up with stuff for what happens when you have impacts. You might be able to hear the tones kind of mimic almost like the bass line of the main theme that hasn't really played since that plays at daytime. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm at with this. I'm just kind of having fun playing my own game and just kind of imposing little rules on it. But I want these lights to be able to kind of not quite light your direction, right? But also as you're kind of getting closer to the ground, I'm trying to give it some feedback so you know when you're threading the needle. But you can mix and match together, and then if I let off the gas, or if I let off the gravity, it'll kind of restore, so you can actually try to do some skill-based stuff where, you know, you'll fall faster, but you'll get more forward momentum. So it becomes really active. And so for two people controlling eventually, and I'll figure that out when it's time, you'll be able to kind of button press and catch and release. And so you're really, besides the steering, you're able to kind of just control a bunch of abilities, whether it's on the ground, right? So once again, left trigger, if I'm on a hill that's too hard to climb, I can use this to have a little bit more precision. And then if I'm falling, because again, you can see there's like little grip meters. When the kids are attached, you know, they can go flying off. You're gonna kind of have to hold on for dear life. And so I can't wait to have some fun with that. And we'll figure out how to deal with the consequences of that once we get there in development. But yeah, this is BU, and this is Nightcrawlers.